Hello and welcome to Time About the Movies Flashback. Today we're flashing back to March 18th, 1988 with 7 movies to look at. So we have a lot to get to here, so let's go ahead and get right to it. And let's start with the biggest new release of the weekend, which is unfortunately the continuation of the Police Academy series. This is Police Academy 5, Assignment Miami Beach.
Confront Surf and Sand in Police Academy 5. Assignment Miami Beach. Rated PG. Starts Friday, March 18th.
Speak for yourself. I don't like any of these people. But this is Police Academy 5, the first one to not feature Steve Guttenberg, as he said, you know, I could star in these for the rest of my life and end my career, but I'm going to try to branch out here. I'm going to go work on this movie, 3 Men and a Baby, and hope that turns out better for me. His career didn't really go anywhere shortly after that, but it at least had more life than it would have if it would have stuck around with these films. But our heroes face the grave. Our heroes face the grave challenge of doing more good than harm to their beloved, befuddled, recently kidnapped commandant in their attempts to rescue him from jewel-thieving captors. And you know what? I actually liked this movie when it was called Reno 911 Miami, was rated R, it was released 19 years after this bullshit came out. I mean, we're 5 movies into this series, and I know we're going backwards on this particular show, but I watched all these movies in a row, and there was nothing of value from the series at this point in the series. From this thing, and people still went to this. They still made this a hit, and there's really not much more you could say about it because it's literally the same movie it was the last 4 times. It's bad. It's not funny. A lot of funny people involved, but they're not given anything that funny to do. It's just desperation at this point for them, and it's just like they keep making them because they kept making money, and there were still 2 more after this, including one that I already looked at and one I didn't look at, which I didn't realize until I looked back at the 94 Leftovers video and realized I didn't cover Mission to Moscow, which really wouldn't have made much of a difference because it's literally the same thing in every single one of these movies. Not one of these movies has anything of value to it. They're just not really all that funny. There's nothing about them that's investing. There's nothing about them that's engaging. It's just not funny, man. Like, I try to find something of value in these films, and I just cannot. Like, there's a couple of little things here and there, but not enough for me to say you have to check this movie out, because, no, I'd be doing you a huge disservice by asking you to do that. So, let's go ahead and get off of Police Academy 5 and go on to a movie that has some warrant to it, sort of. Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan in the thriller D.O.A.
24 hours ago, Dexter Cornell had a good job, an attractive wife, and a successful writing career. He also had an enemy.
It's poison, Dex. There's nothing we can do.
Now, 24 hours is all he has left.
Trying to see me out and about.
24 hours to solve his own murder.
Why did you murder me?
Dennis Quaid, Meg Ryan. Oh, I'm so good.
I got a rough day.
D.O.A. Rated R. Starts tomorrow at a theater near you.
A film that is actually a remake of a 1949 movie starring Edmund O'Brien, D.O.A. There's actually been several versions of this story, actually, done in multiple movies, including most notably Crank, which, if you look at the plot, it's pretty much the same movie as Crank, pretty much, except Crank is on a much more faster-paced level than this is. Dennis Quaid plays an English professor who becomes embroiled in a series of murders involving people around him, and he has good reason to want to find out who the murderer is, but he doesn't have much time. He finds help and comfort in one of his students, played by Meg Ryan, and he's only got 24 hours to do it, or else he's dead. And it's actually much better than you would give it credit for. It's a remake made by the people that would later give us the Super Mario Brothers movie, not the good Super Mario Brothers movie, the one from 1993, which is not a good movie, but it does show that these 2 directors had some potential as directors early on until the Super Mario Brothers 93 really destroyed any chances of that happening. But this is a really good movie. Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan work off each other very well. Charlotte Rampling's in here as well. Daniel Stern. Who else? Jane Kasmerick, Robert Knepper, John Hawkes. A lot of really good actors. A really good engaging storyline. It's a really good mystery thriller, and I really do think it's a lot better than people let on. Kind of an underrated little thriller. I do recommend it. D.O.A. So, with that said, on to the next movie. Sidney Poitier and River Phoenix starring in Little Nikita.
He was an all-American until he discovered his entire life was a lie.
Your parents are Russian spies. KGB agents. Secret deep cover.
Without the hands, Dennis, suddenly this all-American becomes a
Sidney Poitier plays a veteran FBI agent who has spent the last 20 years trying to find the Russian agent who killed his partner, whom he calls Scuba. When a couple of deep-cover Russian agents are killed, Parmenter thinks Scuba is the one doing it. The Russians who receive word from Scuba, if they want him to stop, they have to pay him. So they send a veteran Russian agent, Karpol, to stop him. Parmenter was tasked with performing background checks on people applying for certain things regarding security clearances, and when he comes across Jeffrey Graham, played by River Phoenix, who's applying to the Air Force Academy, he discovers that his parents' info is false. He learns that Karpol is coming into the country and suspects that he is here to stop Scuba, and that Karpol went to the city where Jeffrey and his family live, so he decides to keep an eye on Jeffrey and his family. Would you believe this is directed by the same guy who gave us My Favorite Year, Richard Benjamin? This feels like a film that is so out of Richard Benjamin's territory. Like, he's mostly known for directing comedies, like more funny films, regardless if they actually turn out to be funny or not. This is the only movie of his that's really a serious action thriller, and it kind of works against the film in general, but the film itself isn't terrible by any means. It's a movie that has a lot of intriguing ideas, just not the right execution overall. I think Sidney Poitier and River Phoenix work off each other very well. Richard Jenkins, a great character actor, is very good in here. Loretta Devine's also in here. There are a lot of good, talented efforts in here, but just the overall script as a whole just doesn't work as well as I think they wanted to, and the big twist at the end really misfires in a big way. A noble effort by Richard Benjamin, but just not enough for me to say that's one I should say you should check out. Just one that's good. It was an interesting opportunity for him to do something different, just didn't quite work out in the end. So that is Little Nikita. Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and I think it's another movie with me saying in a very eloquent way, Dominque and Eugene, with Ray Liotta and Tom Hulce.
I have to believe in your strength, Nikki.
Tom Hulce, Ray Liotta, Jamie Lee Curtis, Dominic and Eugene. A story of brotherly love.
One of those trailers, I can't really show you the full one because Orion usually is very picky when it comes to having their trailers on here, but it's one of those trailers that talks about the previous work of the actors involved. Like in this case, it's Tom Hulce. You know, they have a thing where it's just like in 1985 he created this iconic role that got him an Academy Award nomination in Amadeus, and they use that as a selling point for this particular film. And in the film, Ray Liotta and Tom Hulce play twins, Dominique and Eugene, but Dominic is a little bit slow due to an accident in his youth. They live together when Dominic works as a garbage man to put Eugene through medical school. The relationship becomes strained when Eugene must decide between his devotion to his brother or his need to go away to complete his training. Things are also not helped by Dominique's co-worker or Eugene's budding romance, played by Jamie Lee Curtis. A lot of good people involved in here. Just, it's one of those movies where, okay, it doesn't really go full retard like Tropic Thunder says, but it's one of those movies that almost gets into that area of Oscar baitish territory, but in the end, it just kind of makes for a film that's just okay for what it is. I mean, you know, Ray Liotta and Tom Hulce are putting the best effort they can. Hulce overall is not bad in the movie. I mean, in a role that could clearly have gone the wrong way, it's a role where he works fine in it. Everybody in it works fine in general, but there's just nothing there that really makes me say, this is one of those movies, one of those underrated gems you gotta see. But if you want to see a different type of performance by Ray Liotta or Tom Hulce, this is definitely the film to do it with. But other than that, I don't know. It's not one I would say I'd rush out to see, per se, but that is Dominique and Eugene. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is the Milagro Beanfield War.
The Milagro Beanfield War.
The scorpions will make nests, and you'll surely be living there. And be sure not to lean too far back on the seat in the outhouse, or let your nipples swing up under the wood like widows.
Now, if you want to talk about people following up their Oscar-winning works with films that weren't as good, I had no idea this was directed by Robert Redford. This is the Milagro Beanfield War. It's his first film he directed since his Oscar-winning film Ordinary People 8 years ago. And it revolves around a man's fight to protect a small beanfielding community against larger businesses and political interests. And that's kind of part of the reason why the film doesn't really work all that well, despite a good cast in general here. Daniel Stern, Chick Verona, Christopher Walken, Ruben Blades, James Gammon, Melanie Griffith, Tron Hurd. A good cast overall here. Just not a film that really is all that interesting or engaging. It's a film that's just kind of bland. Like, it's not really anything that interesting. It's a melodramatic film. It does everything that I thought Dominique and Eugene was going to do, per se, but I mean, that movie made its work a little bit, but here it's just kind of like, yeah, this is directly into Oscar bait territory, and you can see why Orion kind of dumped it in the middle of the dumping ground season. Where, I mean, if they really believed in this, they would have put this out in the fall for an Oscar run, but no, they didn't really believe in it. It's a film that really, a lot of good talent involved, just not an engaging film, and it runs way too long too. It's a film that's close to 2 hours long. And, like, it feels like it's going on forever and ever and ever. It's just, like, not worth it in the end, per se. So that's the Milagro Beanfield War. Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Julie Delpy in Beatrice. So set in a castle in France during the 100 Years' War, it recounts the sufferings of Beatrice at the hands of her brutal father. And that's really all I know about it. I've never seen the movie. I'm guessing it's probably the first film Julie Delpy ever starred in. I could be wrong on that. In fact, I'm pretty sure I am wrong on this. In fact, let me just be clear before I get this. Oh yeah, I'm not even close. So this is way before. Her first film was way before this film was. So. Yeah, so I'm wrong on that one, but I've never seen the film, so I can't really say for certain if it was any good or not. Julie Delpy usually does turn out a good performance no matter what she's in, so I wouldn't be surprised if the film actually turns out to be somewhat good because she's involved in it, but like I said, I haven't seen it, so I can't really say too much about it. I'm just kind of killing time here. So let's go ahead and move on to the last movie we have here, and that is Aria.
Bruce Williamson in Playboy calls it an explosion of talent and tantalizing imagery, a consistent thread of eroticism. Unlike any other movie you're apt to see this year or next.
Chalk this one up to another one I've never seen before. You have 10 short films by 10 different directors, each showing the director's choice of visual accompaniment to one of more operatic ariases. There's little to no dialogue from the actors, with most of the words coming from the libretto of the operas in Italian, French, or German. You have people like, as they show in the trailer, there's a segment directed by Nicholas Rowe, starring Teresa Russell. There's one directed by Jean-Luc Godard. There's one starring Buck Henry and Beverly D'Angelo. There's one with Elizabeth Hurley in there, directed by the director of Driving Miss Daisy. Robert Altman directs one with Julie Haggerty and Genevieve Page. There's one with Bridget Fonda in her first film role. Ken Russell directed one. Tilda Swinton is in one of them. John Hurt's in one of them. Again, not really a whole lot more I could say about it because I haven't seen the movies, but there's a lot of good talent involved in here, and these different ideas of like taking these different operas and making something, a story out of them, does lead to possibilities. But again, it's one I haven't seen before, so I can't really say whether or not they're actually good or not. But there we go. That's Aria for you. And so on that note, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies Flashback. We'll flashback to March 11th, 1988, with one of the few body switch comedies that actually, besides Big, that actually was considered a hit. Vice versa with Judge Reinhold and Fred Savage. When he was just starting to take shape with his Wonder Years success. We also have Masquerade. We also have Off Limits, Edward James Olmos and Stand and Deliver, and also Where the Wind Blows. So those 5 films we'll take a look at on the next episode. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the plays on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So, with that said, I'm off. I'll see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.